Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and I will be your host. And today we're talking with my guest, Elina Sokolovska, about working as a product manager on the road. Elina, did I say your last name right?
You did 10 out of 10, and definitely better than most people would say it.
Thank you. Welcome to the show, Elina. You are our very first product manager.
Oh, thank you. Nice to be the first one. And I hope to give you some insights into what working product means and also inspire others to maybe do it.
Yeah, that was the idea when I heard about what you did, because we met recently at the event Nomad in Wonderlands in Antalya, Turkey.
We did, yes. I was actually my only second Nomad adventure and Nomad destination. So I was really glad to meet amazing people like yourself. And obviously, we've stayed in touch. And a few of us will be continuing on and meeting in the next place where we can talk about it more.
Yeah. So, first of all, could you tell us about your background and how you started on the digital nomad path?
Yeah, so I've been working in tech startups for the past sort of like, I guess more than 10 years and building products for eight out of those. Past 10 years, I have also spent in London, but had like a little short stint in San Francisco. And how I started nomading is basically last year, within the space of 2 weeks, I lost my job and I was made redundant. I also lost my relationship. My boyfriend dumped me. So at that point in time, I thought, well, like nothing is kind of holding me here. And I feel like I need to figure out what is the next chapter of life hold for me. So please don't judge me. It's very cliche, but I felt like I needed to go to Bali, where, I mean, typically people go and they want to find themselves, right? So I went there for about 2 months, and I was hoping I'm gonna get some answers within those 2 months. But the time was kind of running out. I was approaching the end of my trip, and I still didn't have any answers about what I want to do next, what's happening, and should I stay in London, should I go? But then unexpectedly, I went back to London, and that's when I got my answers. I kind of felt like my perception of London had completely shifted. I was noticing a lot more of the negativity in people, how sad people are, how much nobody looks at you or smiles at you when you're on the tube, on public transportation, how much anger there is around. And I don't know, at that point in time, I just thought, you know what? I don't like it here anymore. And then I started looking into, okay, like, yeah, what about nomading? Maybe I can like go and try it out and see what happens. And when I think about it now, like the signs were always there. Like in the past few years, I was going on holidays like 10 times a year, literally every month, every couple of weeks, I was going somewhere. I felt like very productive working from a rooftop in Barcelona. So yeah, I started looking for locations and I found Bansko, Bulgaria. It was just before the winter season, so I thought, oh, it'd be great. I would get to ski every day and also like find a new job at that time. So yeah, it all happened super quick. I found Bansko, made a decision to kind of give up my apartment, sell all my belongings, well, most of them, and yeah, like a month later, I had left. So yeah, now I've been a nomad for just about, I guess, 6 months. It's been Bansko, it's been Antalya. At the moment, I am in Albufeira in Portugal for a nomad conference here. And so far, so good. No regrets.
Wow, what an amazing transition you've made, Alina. And I'm sure you're not alone. I feel like I've heard, many of the things you said, like London has changed. People when they end a relationship, it's like once there's a big transition, a lot of things in your life start to change. And like you said, you didn't feel you enjoyed London anymore. And then look at all that has happened in 6 months. I'm really excited for to hear more and to follow your story as it goes because I feel like you've had a really good start. I'm sure those first few months were uncertain and you were finding your feet, but now I think you're moving forward and you're going to digital nomad conferences. That's always a sign.
I know, right? I feel like you're advancing to the next level of being a nomad once you're at a nomad conference. So yeah, leveling up.
Yes, getting into the community. Well, I was really intrigued when you told me that you were a product manager because I honestly
Hmm.
don't exactly know what they do. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So, yeah, like I know you had said you lost your job, but you have worked in that field for many years. So, for those who aren't familiar, could you explain what a product manager does and how did you get into
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, okay. So, as we know, a lot of startups fail. So, more than 90% of startups fail. In my opinion, it happens mainly because of one of the three problems. The first one is when you have an amazing idea of like what you want to do for your business, no matter if you're a solopreneur or if you have, like aspirations for building a unicorn, it all starts with an idea, right? And the first problem is that, like, a lot of times people don't really understand who their potential customer is. They move with an assumption that, for example, if I have a problem, that there are many people like me who have the problem, therefore I should try to fix it for someone. And therefore, my target customer is somebody like me, a lot of times. So that's the first part is basically you really need to know who is your target customer and how you're going to find them. So the second part is you need to make sure that basically your target customer actually has a pain point or a problem that you can solve. Again, a lot of times why startups fail is they assume that the problem that is there uh, actually exists, whereas a lot of times it might not be there or it might be slightly different. So like that's the kind of second component. So you have a person has a problem, and then the third one is your product needs to actually solve this problem. Um, so again, a mistake that I have seen over and over is people jump straight into building something without putting in more effort up front and trying to answer these key questions because answering these key questions basically reduces your risk of failure. If you know these three things, who your target customer is, what their problem is, and then you validate and understand if what you do actually helps them to solve it, you're already halfway there. So product people like me are there to make sure that we get these things right and that we work not just based on what we think and what the assumptions are, but we actually find answers, turn them into facts, and reduce this risk of failure as much as possible early on. And what that might mean in practice is basically doing customer research. So speaking to customers to really understand who they are, how they think, why they have this problem, what they do currently to solve it. It also might mean looking at analytics and looking at data from websites, apps to understand how people use your product. It also means working with pretty much every single department there is in a company with engineers, designers, with marketing, with CS, to get everybody aligned about the customer, their problem, and then work together to basically build a solution for them, to get it in their hands, to communicate it in the right way, to make sure that we can monetize it and actually make money, because essentially you still need to make money, even though you are building products for people, you are a business after all. Um, and so how I got into it was quite an interesting story. Like I started my career in customer success, so working in a marketing tech platform, working with big enterprise clients. And at that time, I was working on the client who was just, miles ahead of everybody else in terms of their strategy. They were like in the future. So I had to help them scale from one country to 30 countries without hiring extra people. So that time you didn't have AI, like not really, you didn't have Zapier, so you couldn't really automate and like do any of those things. So I was left to solve a problem by myself because it didn't really align with what most customers wanted at that time. So I kind of asked around, and then I got introduced with these couple of engineers, and they said, "Yeah, we can help you." And then I explained them who my customer is and like what their problem is, what would we need for it to be solved. And then a couple of days later, they came back with a, "Hey, we have this magic script that's gonna basically automate everything for you, so you don't have to hire extra people." And I thought, "Wow, this is amazing." And then the engineer said, "Yeah, you're kind of good at this. Like, you should be a product manager." And then I thought, well, wow, what is that? Like, is that a thing you can do? And they're like, yeah, it's an actual role. And then they introduced me to some product people. And then after that, I was kind of set on it. And ever since I got into it, I haven't looked back because it's so great to, to help people.
So it sounds like you were already like you were in a company already, and then you just became a product manager within that company. Is that how it first started?
Not within that company. Within that company, there were no opportunities to go into product, and then I think it took me one or two more jobs to actually get into product. It's one of those like weird kind of roles that aren't really explained or taught to students as an option, as a career choice, and there isn't really like a conventional way how to get into product. Usually, you get into product from another role, like typical is. CS, like my background, or being a data analyst or being an engineer. So that's just something that you kind of like, like gradually progress into. But there isn't like a typical career path, unfortunately. It's kind of starting to shift. Like now there's a lot more. I think there's a couple of universities that do degrees in product management, which is super great to see. There's a lot more courses and boot camps and things how you can upskill and like get all the skills. But at the same time, right now it's like such tough environment for tech because of layoffs over the past 2 years. So for junior product people, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to get into product.
So you think product has also been affected with this because there's just generally
Oh,
less jobs.
yeah, 100%. I think like now, companies are basically tightening their budgets and like laying off people. And a lot of times product people are affected too. And then product people are laid off, but like they aren't necessarily backfilled. And then there's a lot more responsibility, a lot more pressure on those few that are left. You have to be a lot more focused on impact, on generating revenue and shifting key metrics and yeah, even like like looking for roles and jobs currently it is very, very challenging for product people.
Okay, it's good to know if people are listening to this and starting to think about the future, maybe working in product. But I know you've only been a digital nomad for about 6 months, but what would your day-to-day life as a product manager entail now? Is it a lot of meetings? Because it sounds like a big part of your work is talking and like communicating very well, very directly with different departments to get things the way that they should be, let's say.
Yeah, for the past 6 months, I've been freelancing with a startup based in Germany, and then actually on Monday, I'm starting a new full-time role with a startup in security space. So I'm super super excited. But in the last 6 months, I guess for a PM, every day looks completely different. I know, again, it's a cliche answer, but that's simply how it is. The only constant thing is when you're within a product team, you basically have your team stand up, which is like early in the morning, you check in with everybody, what everybody's doing right now, if anybody has any blockers, and basically then you set up about your day and just get things going. So for me, days can look quite different. It could be a mix of different activities. It could be speaking to customers. It could be checking out some time and looking at data to understand how people are using a particular feature. Very important is also like kind of like deep work or thinking time, which I do prioritize every day so that I can, actually like get things done that matter. And then, as you said, also a lot of time is spent in conversations and catching up with other teams to align on priorities. Although with like remote work, a lot of that is being replaced with async communication and not necessarily in-person calls, but more, like I'm been big fan of recording looms where you can quickly get your point across in just a minute or two. Also having really, really good documentation so that you can get people's feedback, not necessarily in a call, but whenever they have time. So I think when you're working remotely, like a lot of that is also a big consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important to be able to watch back again exactly what someone said. And, it's different
Mm.
from reading a transcription. Some people, we all learn and, remember things in different ways. So I think async, I'm happy to hear that more organizations are starting to go this route because it's difficult in different time zones. But I'm happy that, you've been hired and people are fine with product managers being wherever they are. Is your new company, do you get the feeling they're going to be quite open about where you're working from?
Yeah, I mean, they are fully remote themselves, so you can basically join pretty much from any country in the world. I think most of their product team engineering are based in Europe, which is great because time zone challenges are a whole different topic that we can also discuss. But it makes things easier if you're on the same time zones. And yeah, like basically they're quite flexible in terms of how you work. What matters is really your output and your performance. So I think I mean, as you said, people work in like completely different ways, and productivity is not linear, right? It goes up and down, and it's really good to see companies that appreciate it and that understand that for people to be productive, you kind of need to let them to go with this flow and basically maximize the times when they can get the maximized output and maybe do something else with the time when you might not be as productive.
I think more and more CEOs need to understand this. Not everybody is productive at the same time. Some people are night owls, and some people work better if they're near a beach, let's say, and they just need to be in a different space. So I think that if I was a CEO, I would want the best employees, and I would want them to come as their best selves. And I think we're not quite there yet in some industries that can do this, but are choosing to like bring people back to the office, for example.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a whole different topic, and I guess I have very strong views on it because I'm one
Say
of
a
those
lot.
people that
They probably do. Yeah.
yeah, but like it's like, going to the office. Like I'm one of those people that would be least productive in an office environment actually. Like okay, like when you have a bit more structure and team meetings and you can like get things done in a focused way, that's great. But at the same time, there are so many distractions. And yeah, okay, I work from the beach sometimes, but in the same time, I have zero distractions and I have the extra motivation to be super productive and get things done just so I can have that swim. So that in a way is even better than being in an office 9 to 5 just because you have to.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you how you balance like, doing the things you want to do and having a life, but also being in, a corporate environment online, let's say, and working for big companies.
Mm, yeah. I think slow travel helps, and not putting pressure on yourself to be like a tourist every day. I think that can probably like that can catch you off guard when you just start nomading and you're so excited and you just want to do everything and see everything. But like, let's be real, like that just leads to burnout, even like travel burnout. So you kind of need to be more sensible and like maybe not do stuff every day. I don't. But also in terms of productivity, what I like to do is basically set 2 to 3 goals of what I actually want to achieve per day, and then batch my work into chunks that I can basically put in at different times. So what I mean by that is I usually tend to chunk my meetings together in one kind of like, like one chunk so that like next 2 3 hours meetings, then maybe you can like go for your swim or go for a session of yoga or go for lunch or whatever you need to do. Then you have again a chunk of focus time. Maybe then you take do something else and then you do your deep work or anything else that needs to be done on the day. And I find this kind of approach helps because then you can plan your day much better, and then also you can plan with your other activities outside of work that you want to do. One thing that actually I consider a lot is the weather. So if I know that bad weather and a bad day is coming, like a rainy day, I might make a longer day and work a lot more. And then same week, next couple of weeks, there's a brilliant sunny day, and then I can spend a bit more time just enjoying the weather, enjoying the nature and the place where I'm at. So I think that helps a lot too.
Yeah, no, I think people don't think about that as much as they should, perhaps. And you do these days go to places and suddenly you find out it's rainy season there and you get a week of rain. And so, yeah, why not work hard and then get ready for the time to swim or the time to really enjoy being outside? So, same with like
Yeah.
if you're a morning person, you know that about yourself, plan accordingly for when you're going to feel best to work. So,
Yes, those are great tips. Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you about any other tips you might give if someone wants to start or think about becoming a product manager, because as you explained, your journey to become one was a little bit, it wasn't a clear path. Somebody told you you were good at it. So should somebody just, if they see a job description, try to get in that way for a product manager, or what can they do to prepare if this sounds like it might be something for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, these days it's not as simple as just seeing it and applying it purely because of the layoffs. There is so much competition, so many product people with experience already on the market. So coming in as somebody new without experience, very challenging. But at the same time, if you're coming from a role where you already have had to acquire those soft skills that you can transfer, like really good communication, aligning with people, problem solving, a lot of these things, curiosity that is like super important in being a product manager, then those are things that definitely work for you, not against you. But at the same time, I would advise to put in focused effort to try to get some product management experience. Just because you can't get hired doesn't mean you can't find experience. There are open source projects going on. There are meetups. You can do practical product boot camps where you basically go through theory and then you build the thing at the end. And basically, they take you through the whole process and the role of product manager. So trying to find practical experience where possible would be my first tip. The second one is to find a mentor. I think that one has been a game changer for me. Like I found a mentor quite early on. It like kind of happened coincidentally, accidentally, but now reflecting back, I feel like that was one of the biggest things that really helped me because having an existing product person can basically give you the guidance in terms of what's the best way that you can do things, where are you lacking, what do you need to learn. So finding a mentor, I would do that as soon as possible. And like you can do that in there are specific platforms for product people and for mentoring where you can reach out to people and people will do it for free, like dedicate some of their time. I also dedicate some of my time to mentoring product people. And also other ways are you can just approach people on LinkedIn if you see what they're doing and you're kind of into it. And then the third one obviously is learning about the role and what it entails and how it works in whatever way you prefer. So you can read books about it. Again, like I do have a list of some really good books that you can pick up. There are amazing podcasts where you can listen to product people talk about different topics, different problems they've solved, different ways of building products. And also you can find communities of product people. Product Tank is one of them where they have meetups in, like 200 cities around the world where you can join and meet other PMs and, learn about the process. So it definitely is high effort to get into product, I would say. I'm not going to play it down that it's super easy. It's not. But once you're in it, it is super satisfying. And I do feel like it's a really great career path.
I mean, I'm learning about all of this for the first time from you. So you mentioned Product Tank. Are there any other tools or like let's say online resources that come to your mind right away that you would say, yeah, check these out first or try to get some insight here first?
Yeah. I love the product. I love the podcast. It's called One Night in Product, where basically Jason Knight, he's also a seasoned product manager, who basically has been doing product for like more than 20 years, and he has basically, like 300, 400. I don't know. I think I've lost track of the episodes now, but he has lots of amazing product people on his podcast, and you can definitely learn about different ways and different aspects of the role. Then there are some of books that I really recommend. Um, why is my memory blanking right now in the moment? I have one specific one in mind that I can't remember the name of. Um,
We can get that from you
yeah,
and then we'll put a link
we
in our
can get that from
description.
you. I'd have to like have a look at like my list of resources because I guess it's been a while since I've had to look at some of these things.
Right. I am curious because you said you just got hired. You're starting on Monday, so congratulations, a new full-time job. So, how do you feel about the shift to full-time work as a digital nomad? Because it sounds like you're enjoying the lifestyle and you want to continue, but are you nervous about how things are going to change? Because I have a feeling some digital nomads have had to go through this.
Yeah, I guess that is always the choice and the question for yourself in terms of how will you build your career and how much freedom do you really want versus structure and like reliability and security. So for me, for the past 6 months, I've been freelancing, but I got my freelance role completely accidentally. It happened on LinkedIn, and I saw someone's post, and I got in touch, and then 3 days later, I started. Um, so I considered going full-time freelance. And past 6 months, I have also been working 3 days per week, which has been amazing in terms of like work-life balance. Um, but like past few months, I was kind of checking out and seeing like what would I want to do next. And my next company, Citadel, when I interviewed with them, I just found the culture so amazing. I really enjoyed the team. I enjoyed conversations with every single person that I met. I like the fact that they're obviously also fully remote, but they're focused on outcomes instead of, you spending like set amount of hours in one place in an office. So I feel like in terms of values and work-life balance, they're definitely a good fit for what I'm looking for right now. Also, their product is super exciting, and I've never worked on something like that before. So there's the challenge, the element of challenge too. Um, that being said, I also like to advise and coach and mentor startup founders, which I continue to do on the side as well. So that's not something that I'm planning to change and drop. I want to keep it more on like a freelance kind of basis. But yeah, I think also, the tech situation that I kind of referenced previously, where past years have been a lot of layoffs and a lot of people have cut their budgets for product departments. I think for freelancing right now it's not necessarily the best time. And that also like kind of like played a part in my decision to go back to full time. But yeah, I wasn't necessarily kind of like actively planning for it. It just like things happened and I met my new company Citadel, and I felt like it's the right time and right place for me to be. And I just went with my intuition, I suppose. But yeah, I guess there's probably the other camp of people that are like more intentional and like to plan their career more intentionally, whereas I'm more like go with the flow and see where the life takes you.
Yeah, and both ways work. And we all have our seasons also of how we're feeling when we're nomadic, or sometimes we get a base again for a while, always changing. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck with your new job. That's really exciting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing about this world that I admit I had no idea of when we started. So product management, it's actually a pretty big industry out there. And if you've been curious about it, now we know some places we can look to learn more. Is there anything I forgot to ask you about, Elina, that you think is important to say? Do you anything else that you want to add before we go?
Mm, I think we have covered pretty much everything that I think would be essential, like knowing things about being a product manager and also being as a nomad. I think yeah, you've done well. You're a great host, Becky.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Alina. And if people want to connect with you, if they want to like ask you any questions, where can they go?
Yeah, like you can find me on different socials. So you can find me on LinkedIn with my name, Elina Sokolovska. Or also you can follow me on Insta where I post a lot about where I go, what I do. And my handle is Elina_Shoko, as in SHOKO on Instagram. So you can find me there too.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I wanted to make an announcement to everyone listening or watching on YouTube. This is actually going to be the final podcast for a Digital Nomad World. I've been the host for the last 2 years, and I have enjoyed honestly every moment of it, every guest I've connected with, every comment we've had on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for listening and giving us your support. Um, Stay tuned. You never know what might appear next on this channel, but for now, we are going to stop the current episodes. And I wish all of you well on your digital nomad journeys, whether you're thinking about starting, just starting out, or you've been going as a digital nomad world, as a digital nomad for a while. All the best to the listeners out there, and I hope you have a wonderful time in your digital nomad journey. And thank you, Elina, again, for being our last guest, my last guest on this podcast. It's an
It was
honor.
an honor, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.